Have we been wrong about Amanda the entire time? Is she a good person unlike what we believe? Apparently 86% of you believe that she's evil, which is understandable after what she did to Wooly. But what if it's not the case? What if she's a good person and not the other way around? Now humor me on this theory, okay? Ever since I posed my theory that Amanda was the one controlling everything from the beginning, but the possibility of her being good was out of question. I mean, there's no way that's possible until one of you guys commented with a theory that suggested that Amanda is being controlled by another evil entity. And at first when I saw that comment, I initially considered that option, but I don't see how another entity could fit into this. That is until I saw more comments of people saying that at the beginning when Amanda asked us if we like apple, there's a small hand or knife pointing out in the bushes. And when I look into it, suddenly the theory that Amanda was being controlled by an evil entity and could possibly be innocent the entire time changes everything how I see her action. So today, let's talk more about this. When you start episode 1, Amanda asks us if we like apple, and here is where we get to see that weird hand just one frame. When the game did a close-up on Amanda. When Wooly said that he's allergic to apple, Amanda shows genuine concern towards him and even reassure him that it'll be fine.
I'm allergic to apples.
That's okay. You should never be afraid to try something new.
Now remember when I said what if Amanda was good all along? Well then it makes sense here that she'll get a bit annoyed if you messed up since there is something that is watching her. So the idea of her being controlled by an evil entity is not far-fetched. Now with the theory of her being controlled by something else, then it makes sense why she's getting angrier and annoyed every time you messed up because she's afraid of what the entity would do to her. But Amanda didn't give up. In 2 tapes, Amanda tries to warn the player. Now all this time we're led to believe that Wooly was the one who's trying to warn the player and Amanda was the evil one. Well, if we go by with this theory that we're discussing now, the idea of Amanda warning the player to turn off the TV is not out of the question. She could send that message, turn off the TV, for the player, warning them to not proceed on. But as usual, the player still continues on. So episode 2 starts with Wooly warning us something, and it is here where our theory of Amanda being a good person didn't add up. If she's good, then why would she kill Wooly? Well, I might have an answer for that. You see, Wooly might have known about the entity and grows concern for Amanda, that she's being possessed by the entity sooner or later. So before anything could happen to the player, Wooly decided to warn us about it, but the entity catch on to it and stopped him before he could finish. Now it is also worth noting here that Amanda at this point could already be possessed by the entity, but not entirely, because she still tried to save the player by closing the TV. This is what you're seeing when the TV suddenly blacks out for a moment, but the entity is too powerful and managed to repel that action, and this is where I believe Amanda was fully taken over by the entity.
That's right.
Now with the recently added secret tape, the idea of the entity controlling Amanda and killing Wooly is becoming more and more plausible. The tape could also be another way for the entity to show us what has become of Wooly. I also want to add that it's pretty weird how this bonus tape didn't eject while the other tape did. I mentioned this in the secret tape explain video that it's pretty weird that the tape would not eject unlike the others, which led me to believe that this is not the 4th tape we've all been waiting for, but rather a bonus tape. And if you consider the entity controlling Amanda, this tape could have been provided by it just to show us what happened to the snitching sheep. Hence why the tape didn't eject normally. Now, as it's shown in episode 3, Amanda was eager to get to the house, and even outright rushing the player to click the house fast.
Point to the house. Knock on the door. I want to go inside. Let me in.
That is not Amanda. This is the entity that have possessed Amanda fully. Now I never mentioned how Amanda could transform herself to the monster's form, right? Well, as some of you pointed out, the static Amanda we've seen at the end is actually her breaking free from the game and finally becoming free. If I apply it to this theory, then the dots are finally connected. The static at the end is the entity breaking free from Amanda's body and finally arriving at your place. And that is how Amanda would be if we look at her from a different perspective. Pretty interesting to say the least. Anyway, that is it for this theory. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. Thank you everybody, and I'll see you guys again in the next theory video.